Hello, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins, and the program is Black America. Today, we're honored to welcome Cheryl McKissack Daniel, President and CEO of McKissack & McKissack, the oldest minority and woman-owned professional design and construction firm in the United States. We're delighted to have her with us to discuss her groundbreaking work, her family's extraordinary history, and the future she's building. And Cheryl, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
And I say today with the emphasis because you have just transitioned to a new level in your family's business. You're as chair of the company. Talk to us about that, because it's that's after like 25 years of running it. You have managed to find someone else to do that work. And you can be the big boss.
You are so kind. It's been more like 35 years. Succession is something that we've been looking at for at least 3 or 4 years, and it literally takes that long to put it in place correctly. As you know, there's the management side of succession, and then there's the ownership side. And I have 2 daughters, and not really sure where they're going. And so it was much easier for me to deal with the management. And so I began to work with, first I decided, let me try and go to search firms and bring in a president.
Right.
But that doesn't work when you have a cultural institution like we do at McKissack. Leading and running a firm that's over 100 years old, that's Black in America, is very different than any other firm that would provide the same services that we provide. So we failed at bringing in others. And after the last episode of someone coming in acting as though they knew more than we did, that they wanted to put in place their way of doing things and not even look to see if we were doing anything right. They just knew it wasn't. After being humiliated like that, I decided, let me look internally. And, there's most of the people that are in our senior management have been working for us for over 15, 16 years. Some of them almost 20 years. And so we began to mentor and do 360 evaluations, bring in coaches, and our leader emerged in the name of Albert Ojija.
Who you're proud that he is from Ghana as well, which has a familial history for the whole beginning of your company.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and that was astonishing too. And, it wasn't an accident, but it wasn't intentional either.
Right.
That we would have a president that's from Ghana, which is where Moses McKissack the first decision of our family came from.
Incredible. So talk about the 360-degree evaluation, that was amazing. And what you need to know is we're talking to the woman who is almost singular in what you do and how you do it, and certainly for how long your family has been running, this business. Tell us about the first Moses McKissack and how he got here and what he built.
So our family history goes back 230 years, which is amazing in itself, that we still have a company that's still been passed down over the years within our family. So Moses McKissack I came to this country as a slave in 1790, and he was taught the trade of making bricks. And he was in North Carolina, which in the book, The Black Family Who Built America, we drew a lot of distinctions between slavery between the different states. Because one of the questions we tried to ask in our book is, how did the McKissacks survive? Slavery, racism, Jim Crow, just the hatred of the Deep South for the last 230 years. And we believe some of it had to do with where Moses McKissack I landed. And then Moses McKissack II, his son was a master carpenter. He moved to Tennessee. He was a wedding gift.
As a slave, he was given.
He was given,
Right,
yes.
right.
To the slave master's son, William, was married into the Maxwell Coffee family. And so he moved to Tennessee to be with her and her family, and Moses McKissack II went with him. And he was known for his spiral staircases and gingerbread finishes, and eventually he became a free man and started the first McKissack Company in Pulaski, which I'm sure you've heard of,
Right.
knowing Birmingham,
Right.
in Pulaski, Tennessee, which has always been very puzzling to me that he survived. Because as you know, the Ku Klux Klan incorporated in Pulaski, Tennessee, and their whole mission was to scare and kill blacks who were achieving any kind of economic advancement. And I would consider him to be in that category. And so we're doing more research around how did Moses McKissack II even make it in Pulaski with the Ku Klux Klan right there and him as a major target.
It's an incredible book. I told you it reminds me of a major mystery. That's one of the mysteries. How do these people keep surviving? Not only keep surviving, but keeping the business in the family.
Yes, I mean, there are statistics that don't, bear well to continue a family business this long. To pass a company down to a second generation, it's about 40% of businesses. To a third generation, it's 18%, and a fourth is 3%. And we're not talking black business, okay? And so for us to be here today as 5 generation is really incredible.
So, and the 5 generations, the business, starting with making bricks to now making casinos and airports, is truly, truly incredible. Now, we should say that among the things that you are helping to build are LaGuardia Airport, JFK Airport, and you just became what we think is, if not the first, one of the first black owners of a major casino, the casino that will be built in the parking lot of the Met Stadium. So talk to us about that transition. How do you get from bricks, carpentry, to stone, concrete, and everything else?
Yes, it's a fascinating story. Well, I can say that New York has been kind to me over the years, but it didn't happen overnight. This has been a long journey, and when you have a legacy and you're protecting and continue to build a legacy, it's a little bit more than just a win. It is, staying in the game, basically. You have to remind yourself, you have to get up and just stay in the game. And eventually good things will happen if you continue to bring excellence and, you're productive and, you're a good corporate citizen.
Right.
And I see that as the tenets of how the McKissacks were able to achieve what they achieved. And then I was able to use those same tenets to achieve what I've achieved here in New York. When I first came to New York, I was working for other companies. Worked for Weilinger Associates, then Turner Construction. Before my mother called up my boss one day and told my boss I was quitting, and then she called me and said, "You quit today."
Is that what happened?
That's what happened. Right. And she said, "You're coming to work for me."
And your
Different
mom
thoughts.
had to take it over suddenly as well,
Yes.
Right.
Yes, but I did the same thing to her. I said, "Mom, you're retiring today."
Really, you fired her?
I bumped her up.
Right,
I mean,
right.
We were talking about succession earlier.
Right.
Like, if you don't plan it, it's coming anyway.
Right,
So
exactly.
you may as well plan it. And so I had to help Mom out with her succession.
Right, that is great. Well, in reading the book, some exciting parts were around Barkley. If you talk about New York being good, when they were building that stadium, and how you said you thought that you should be a part of that, and just the intrigue that went into getting it, and suddenly somebody sends you a note that says, "All right, you think you could be a part of this? Give us a proposal," and sent you an office full of papers that you had to sort through. Talk about how that happened.
Yes, that was very interesting. They're glass ceilings, and they're also glass cliffs.
Right,
and,
right.
And I saw that as a glass cliff. I felt, maybe I'm being set up here with all these documents that I'm not going to be able to review this and put in a presentation. That could have been the thought. Or the thought could have been, these people are extremely qualified and they can handle 500 documents. But it was the first thought that was right.
It was.
When, this is what I have been searching for. I'm desiring for several years. I had gone to different politicians. I had seen all the community groups in Brooklyn. I went to Bertha Lewis and spent a lot of time with her and, asked her, to give me strategy on how to actually be on this project. And now it's happening. And, they're sending me documents that are as long as my conference room table, like these pictures here.
Right.
And 500 of them. And, I looked at it, and, the first thing I do is always pause. I never act right away. And I never tell myself I can't do it. I always say I can. If there's a will, there's a way. And so that's exactly what I did. I paused. I went home that day. I made myself a nice little martini. And I sat there and thought about what am I going
leadership
to do?
skills, right? Before you decide anything, have a martini, right?
Have a martini.
Right.
Well, calm yourself. Relax,
Right.
and then you can think.
Right.
And then a person popped in my mind, and he was an engineer that I had been knowing he was actually a client at the School Construction Authority. And, I knew he would be the right person for this, but I didn't know if I could get him.
Right.
Quite frankly, I didn't think he liked me.
Oh, see, there's always that, But such a sweet deal.
Exactly. I'm a
Right.
salesperson.
Right.
I had to go sell the job.
Exactly.
And that's what I did. And at the same time, my friends in the industry, my big brother, Jim McKenna, who runs Hunter Roberts right now.
Right.
At the time he was running Turner, New York, I called him up. I'm like, Jim, if anybody calls, put in a good word for me. He's like, well, should I expect? Can you tell me? What?
Right.
And I'm like, well, matter of fact, can you call up Bob Santa and tell him what a good firm we are? Right. And Bob Santa worked for Forrest Radner.
Right.
Forrest City Radner. And he did that. And he also said, listen, Bob, Cheryl can do this job, but if for some reason they fall down, we're here to support them. And so, I learned early on, we need the mentors for sure to help guide us and give us advice. But we also need them to speak positively about us when we're not in the room.
Right, precisely.
And we need to know who those people are, have those relationships way in advance before you know you even need it. Because you don't want people to think you're just approaching them because you want something.
Right. And so for people who don't understand how if you're looking at New York City and you see all of this construction going on, and all around, people building highways and all of this, that often there are parcels of the work given out, right? And so that's, as you as a construction person, you would say, I want to take this piece, I can handle this piece, and there are many companies working on these multi-million-dollar, if not more, projects. And so that's how, you were able to persuade, the builders of Barclay that you could handle, and then you did proceed to build, take part in the building of that center, which then led to
Right.
everything, all the other major things, LaGuardia, which we all love, by the way. Thank you so much. As I was telling you, I spent many hours walking from point A to point B, but it's all beautiful.
I call it the phoenix that rose out of the ashes.
I know.
It's beautiful.
It is. It is so beautiful. And now you're working on JFK.
Terminal 1.
Talk to us about that. When does that?
So you just went through a conversation about the process.
Right.
And sure, it's an RFP. You have to submit a proposal. You have to submit your credentials. A lot of times you have to do presentations and things of that nature to be a part of a project. But it's also that same project and process that can block firms like mine.
Right.
Okay, and so we're always going above and beyond when we're submitting these proposals, and we're also bracing ourselves for the rejection. And so when Terminal 1 came around, and the reason I bring that up is because when Terminal 1 came around, we didn't have to go through that process for the first time.
So you
Why
had
is
proven
that?
you had proven
They had
yourself.
black owners. Magic Johnson,
Right.
Jim Reynolds.
Right.
They were 30% owners of Terminal 1 with the Carlyle Group.
Right.
And
right.
for the first time, I felt like a good old boy. Jim
Right.
called me up. Cheryl, can you look at this for me? We just want to get your firm involved because we know that you will do right by the community just from the track record you have. And so, I met with the Carlyle Group. We put in, our cost proposal.
These, by the way, if you don't know these names, these are the people who built this city, right? And many other cities.
Yeah, Carlyle.
Right, right.
But now we have Jim Reynolds and Magic Johnson in the mix. And that's what makes all the difference. And we need more of that. We need more of black ownership so that we could create that ecosystem, if you will, of black businesses coming onto a project like that. So Terminal 1 at JFK is almost 3 million square feet of state-of-the-art airport. If you think LaGuardia is
Right.
beautiful,
Right.
wait till
we see that. Right.
JFK
And when is that
Terminal
opening?
1.
When will JFK
That is October 2026.
of this
So it
year?
is right around the corner.
Right. And 3
Yes.
million square feet.
3
will I have to
million
walk
square
that
feet.
3 million to get to my gate?
Well, it's set up a little bit better.
Okay.
But it's put on your walking shoes.
Okay. But these are major, major, major construction. We're not, we're talking the big leagues now that you are in. And now that you're a part of the casino that will be
Yes.
built in New York City, in Queens, talk to us about when will that happen? What's the process for that?
So I just want to say, just finishing up on Terminal 1,
Right.
that Terminal 1 is close to $6 billion. And, we're close to $2 billion, 1.7 with MWBE, Minority Women-Owned Business, spend on that project. And it's really impacted the community of Queens. That's
Sure.
where we focused on businesses. And the same thing is going to happen at the casinos. So we've been pursuing a license for the casinos for about 3 years now. And the process was long and drawn out. Hundreds of community board meetings, meeting with, the building committees. It was,
Right.
and God bless him, Steve Cohen did a lot of that. We are in a ownership structure with Steve Cohen and Hard Rock. And they have been, terrific to work with as far as McKissack is concerned, and very clear that they want to have the same impact on Queens and
Right.
minority and women-owned businesses with the casinos. And so We finally were awarded our license December 15th, which was a
Major deal.
major deal.
Right.
We went to some obscure place on the west side where the gaming commission met.
Right.
And for some reason, I didn't realize that day they were voting.
Huh.
I'm thinking, oh my God, it's snowing outside. And
Right. That was the day of,
gotta
right.
go over way on the west side.
Right.
And when I get there, it's the casino board, it's the other owners, and they take a vote.
And they say McKissack is a part of this.
Yes, we've been awarded a casino license. Well, let me tell you, I have pursued 2 other casino licenses to go through all of the headache and wear and tear and financial, requirements to lose them.
Right.
We were on the first casino, which was with Delaware North, which Governor Patterson ended when Delaware North had to restructure their debt.
Right.
And so then Aqueduct ended up going there. I mean, it was at Aqueduct,
Right.
but the Malaysian firm, I can't think of it, Genting,
Right.
ended up winning that project. And
Don't
so,
you just love this conversation, with Cheryl McKissack, who is like Daniel, is dealing with, with all of the big leagues, and you're in there. So this was your 3rd attempt at a casino
Philadelphia,
license.
I pursued the license in Philadelphia with the Goldenberg Group
Right.
to build a casino in downtown Philadelphia, and we lost that. And so,
Well, welcome
at the beginning of this one, we had a
know.
lot of opposition. I'm thinking, I hope this happens.
Right. Welcome to New York.
Right.
You deserve this. That is fantastic. Now, we were discussing before we started the program whether or not you are the first Black owners of a casino, and you think that there was somebody in Las Vegas some
Yes.
years ago.
Yes, some years ago,
Right. But not since.
but not since.
Right.
And New York is projected to have the highest numbers as far as, attendance, gross income. I mean, New
Are
York
they
is just gonna
talking
be
numbers of how many?
Well, the investment right now is $8.2 billion
Right.
over a 5.5-year period.
Right.
It will be a tremendous big give back to the community of Queens because, it's going to take that whole parking lot that's at Citi Field and turn it into something beautiful, especially a lot of green space, which the community could
Wanted.
use.
Right.
It's going to renovate the MTA station that's just deplorable. I mean, you're afraid to go through the MTA station right now.
Right.
Several parking lots. There's going to be the Taste of Queens, which will be a culmination of all the great restaurants in Queens. And so I'm excited about, of course, a casino and a hotel.
I can't wait for those slot machines, I tell you. I mean, it's the quarter slots, however, but
Yes,
I'm looking forward
I like
to
to
it.
gamble, but I won't be able to gamble there.
Right. That is just fantastic. And when do you expect what is like a 5-year?
It's a 5.5-year construction schedule,
Right.
which we hope to break ground in first quarter
of
this year.
Oh my goodness.
So
well,
in the
you're
next several months.
You are a busy woman.
Yes, even though I got some of it off my plate.
Right. Now that you have, you've put in place a president, you are now chair of this
Yes.
family enterprise, making room for your daughters should they decide that they want to. I don't know how they can turn down a casino, though. The airport, come on, Cheryl,
You'd be surprised.
Do they say, well, it was very much like our family, too. We were talking about the A.G. Gaston conference that's taking place in Birmingham on February 18th, I believe, and you and I will be there. You're talking about your fabulous book and your company, and A.G. Gaston was an uncle of mine and You know, we are.
That's wonderful.
My cousins and I have a panel on his wife, who is my mother's sister, Minnie Gaston, and all of the good things that, you know, that she did. So if you're not in Birmingham, you know, you need to get there.
You're missing it. You're missing it.
But go to aggastonconference.biz, so you'll be able. There are many, many leaders, you know, and Cheryl among the top of them, because, you know, she's the superstar of black business in these days, and she's a woman. I love it. You know, it's incredible. Now you'll have to come back, because one of the things that I've heard you talking about in your social media, which are fabulous. You know, you're a great representative of the. Do go and find her on Instagram. You know, you talk about reparations. So just briefly, you know, coming from a slave family, enslaved family, you know, to now, I've heard you talking about the fact that we need reparations here.
Right.
And you say, well, not so much that you have to pay us back, but do we still have to pay taxes?
Right.
Which is what I love that concept.
Well, you know, we're in New York. We're the 40% tax bracket.
Right, and about to go up with our new mayor.
Right, but this it's not a new concept.
Right.
America's been doing reparations to repair economic ills for a very long time. You know, we can look at the GI Bill, we can look at the veterans. They have a tax forgiveness.
Right.
And sovereign nations, you know, you look at the casinos. So, you know, why not black people, or let's say descendants of slaves? Because it was our bodies that are our ancestors' bodies that were the backing, the literal capital for a lot of Wall Street. And we did not get a chance to walk away with the wealth associated with it. Instead, we walked away, you know, just totally demoralized. And so how do we even that playing field? And why not even the playing field with some sort of reparations? And, you know, I believe that taxes is probably the easiest route to go, even if it's just payroll taxes.
Right.
Not even, it could, but I prefer income taxes, but.
Right.
But some type of reparation to even the playing field and to close that gap of the wealth gap that Black Americans experience today.
Oh, Cheryl McKissack Daniel, thank you so much. We are so impressed by the work that you're doing and congratulate you and continue on. And thanks for being with us today. Continuing a legacy for 5 generations, McKissack and McKissack. Make sure you get a copy of the book, The Black Family Who Built America, the McKissacks, 2 centuries of daring pioneers, and pass on the history of this family and how they continue to build and shape the world we're living in right now, and the city as well. That's it for us right now. I'm Carol Jenkins. Thanks for joining us. The program is Black America, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you so much. You're
This is great.
fantastic.